Look at this headline from the New York Times. This is dated January 31st of this year, almost exactly 2 months ago. It says, Trump administration restricts entry into U.S. from China. The travel disruption sent shocks through the stock market and rattled industries that depend on the flow of goods and people between the world's two largest economies. So that was Trump way back then. It seems like a lifetime ago. That was a pretty big decision to make, don't you think? And a pretty consequential one. It's now universally accepted that it bought the United States a lot of time by delaying the spread of the virus. Not stopping it, but buying more time. Social distancing between countries, you could call it. And not just buying more time epidemiologically, but sending a signal through the U.S. bureaucracy that it was time to start thinking seriously about things and not just daydreaming about what the media party said was the most important story of the day. Impeachment, doesn't that feel like an eternity ago? The media party was obsessed by impeachment 2 months ago, not just in the United States, here in Canada. Here's Trudeau's CBC state broadcaster giving a breathless update to Canadians. I think the CBC actually thought Trump would be removed from office. This is a story from February 3rd. The impeachment process was from December 18th of last year to February 5th of this year. Precisely the time when the virus started to spread. That's what everybody else was focused on. Trump severely restricted travel from China. Here's what Joe Biden said at the time.
Coronavirus emanated from China. A national emergency, worldwide alerts. The American people need to have a president who they can trust what he says about it, that he is going to act rationally about it. In moments like this is where the credibility of the president is most needed, as he explains what we should and should not do. This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia, and fear-mongering.
Hysterical xenophobia and fear-mongering? Really? Well, here's how Dr. Anthony Fauci, the non-partisan expert in epidemics who has advised leaders of both parties, here's how he described Trump's flight restrictions.
One of the things we did right was very early cut off travel from China to the United States, because outside of China, where it originated, the countries in the world that have it are through travel, either directly from China or indirectly from someone who went someplace and then came to that particular country. Our shutting off travel from China, and more recently, travel from Europe, has gone a long way to not seeding very, very intensively the virus in our country. Unfortunately, Italy did not do that. They had an open border, they let people in, and until they really knew they were in trouble, then the cat was out, the horse was out of the barn, and that was it.
So that's early thinking. January 31st, Trump did that before anyone else. And what did Trudeau do around the same time? Well, he did nothing. In fact, it would be well over a month later before Trudeau restricted flights from China at all. More than a full month later. And as you know, Trudeau still allows daily flights from Shanghai, Beijing, Xiamen, Guangzhou, and other cities in China to Canada every day, several a day. And none of them are medically screened, as in no one has their temperature taken, no one is quarantined to this day. In fact, Trudeau gathered up all of the medical equipment in his reach, 16 tons of it, face masks and gloves and other personal protective gear, 16 tons. That's 32,000 pounds. And these things are light. They're face masks, right? It must only be an ounce or two. Imagine 32,000 pounds of protective gear. And instead of ordering more at maximum production speed, instead of starting to stockpile it and distribute it in Canada, he took our stockpile and sent it to China? Absolutely. Here's Trudeau's boastful press release on the subject. He was so proud of himself. Canada supports China's ongoing response to novel coronavirus outbreak. News release February 9th. Ottawa, Global Affairs Canada. Canada is working with its partners and international organizations to control the spread of the novel coronavirus. This is vital to helping those affected and protecting the health and safety of people around the world. To support China's ongoing response to the outbreak, Canada has deployed approximately 16 tons of personal protective equipment, such as clothing, face shields, masks, goggles, and gloves to the country since February 4th, 2020. I presume the part about Canada giving away our emergency supplies was true, but the part in the first sentence there is therefore false. Canada is working to control the spread of the virus. Yeah, not if you're shipping all your emergency supplies out of the country, sending it to the country that many of those supplies were surely manufactured in the first place, a country that surely didn't need it by then anyways, a country whose economy is 10 times bigger than ours anyways, that has many factories in it, that has trillions of dollars in foreign cash reserves. They can buy their own. We sent them charity. Why are they poor over there? We sent them foreign aid. While they actually still have our 2 Canadian hostages, Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. We did that in mid-February? Trump was already banning Chinese flights. Trudeau was sending China our emergency supplies for free? That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.